Hey everyone, Zach and I are online on time, and that is a first, and that's the main reason that I clicked the thing. We've really just been bullshitting around with each other for the last 5 minutes or so. But this is building the City of Brass, which is our little series that we're doing during the City of Brass Kickstarter, because I'm making a model of it to drive a little camera through it so that you can see it at miniature's eye view. The biggest development that we have had so far is that my 3D printer gave up the ghost a couple days ago, and so I've actually ordered a new one, and it'll be on its way getting here tomorrow, probably late at night, and then I'll get that put together and fire it up again. So
he says, like, really confidently.
Oh yeah, totally, no problem. So what since last time, I've got little workstations here, and this is one that's got, I'll just reach over the pieces at a time. I've been building, individual buildings, and what I've been doing is I've been locking three sort of components together to be storefronts, because I figured that, you're not actually going to need a whole lot of totally individual modular pieces, because buildings come in sort of components. And so, for example, this is the first and second floor of a building, but I've only got the facade. It's a Potemkin building right now.
It's the Old West.
It's that's the risk of doing the stuff in the heavy plaster, actually, is that it does look like the Old West, a spaghetti Western. And then, for example, I've got another piece here that can be used with the others to create, a 20 by 30 building like that when they're locked together. Or it can be used just as its own street front. So in the case of emergencies, in terms of having enough buildings, I can actually have twice as many facades as I have completed buildings.
Locked together. You mean the Dragon Lock stuff? The
Dragon Lock. It's all
built.
TM
by Tom Tullis.
Yeah, it's all built. You can see the bases along here. These are the. This looks like I'm wearing cool sunglasses from the '80s or something like that.
I think they're awesome.
All right. So yeah, but you can see these little holes in the side. Those, I don't have a clip ready to hand, but there's a little plastic clip that goes in there, and then like another piece will just lock into that because it has its own holes, and that helps to hold things together once it's put together, which especially when making a video is important because of cables dragging around. Obviously a lot less of an issue when you have a tabletop game.
They lock really well too. They will stay locked. If you want to take it apart, sometimes it's very frustrating.
Yeah, it can be.
That's my running commentary. So
so anyway, so there's, like there's one building front, and then I've got basically four pieces of this size. This one can be used as its own building, or I could mix and match, but there's one that's got a little balcony on it with a door. And then also I've got a couple of 20-foot frontages. There's one that's got a curtain. And
all right, how'd you make the curtain?
The curtain is printed out on a regular printer. It is then soaked in diluted wood glue, and then I press it down on a little line of nails to make the ridges in it, and the wood glue won't stick to the nails most of the time. And so then you can just sort of peel it off once it's dry, and you've got something that's a rigid piece there that you can then use the super glue on, because you can't just wood glue it to the plastic because the wood glue won't hold on plastic.
And you made this one just for these models?
Yeah.
You're a busy man. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So so again, there, you could put both of those two together to have one floor, or put them, what I'll likely do in a lot of cases, put them next to each other, or separated as two different 20-foot storefronts. And then the rest of stuff, I've got a lot of things that are in progress. right now. You know, this is just this is base coated, but haven't done anything with it yet. And this is a complete building from Terrain for Print, which is a 3D sculpting group. And so this, you know, one of the benefits of these complete things is speed. And this one you can take the top off, so it doesn't cause as much of a storage problem as some of the, you know, as a big complete one piece print building. But obviously it's still not going to store as easily as the smaller components done with the Fat Dragon Games pieces, because you throw things into a box, and the smaller the pieces are, the more you can fit in there. And then also I've got a bunch of the bits that I printed are still available for components. So for example, so like this is a roof top for the flat rooftops, and I've got more pieces for those that I have not put together yet. I've got the tops of a couple of these little buildings here, but the difficulty with these guys right at the moment is that I printed them, but they are not they don't fit on the Dragon Lock tiles unless you have extra ones. And so these are actually I'm going to use for stuff that's higher up, and I'll show how I'm planning on doing that later on. And then model wise, I've been printing minis, and so for example, these guys are now I had painted those before. I'd spray painted them black. Now I've done the dry brushing of the steel on them, so I've got my little cages for the Black Magic Bazaar, and I'll figure out if I've got a good monster mini that'll fit in there. And then this is the tray of the, you know, the sort of cast of characters, or at least some of them, that are gonna show up. These are the minis that are in progress. A couple of them are actually from my game. This is Allah's character, Just Steve, and this is Shorshavun. Zach may be the only person who knows who these are.
Probably, but that's okay.
Yeah. Oh, and like
they're superheroes. You should all watch Matt's games on Mondays and Tuesdays. They're really awesome. Just Steve is a lot cooler than Just Steve sounds.
Yeah.
So
this is like a brazier, and I'll probably do a few more of those because, you know, fire is a great theme for the City of Brass. This guy is done. Most of these are either lacking washes or dry brushing or something. These are all incomplete, but like this guy I think is pretty much done, and so he'll be there almost for sure. And I've got an Efreet, but you know, haven't done any of the detail work on that yet. I've got a genie, once again.
Just gonna this will be just hanging out there.
Well, I'm not sure exactly what they're going to be doing yet. It's just this, you know, sort of just assembling some minis. And I realized I had like 3 versions of this figure, which is actually supposed to be a female ogre mage and Oni, but painted red, they look just like female Efreets. So using them for that. I think somebody is probably going to have a couple of wolves with them, because there's a couple of wolf figures that I had in my stuff from Reaper.
So your script depends a lot on what you have handy and painted. That's just like a GM.
I know, right?
I know, imagine that overlap.
But I have, you know, I did grab all of the stuff that looked like it could be used. There's probably going to be a demon figure too, because like Casey mentions, I think they're on the random encounter table. And so I've got a Vrock demon, which I really haven't figured out how to do the color scheme on him yet. I've got I do have a type 2 demon, but since it's a frog, I don't think it'll fit terribly well in there. And I've got a partially painted type 5 demon. Where'd she go? Yeah, there she is. And so she's getting close to being done, but I've only done the base coat on the snake.
Is that a Reaper one again? The bones?
It's pretty much all Reaper.
Okay.
Some of the ones that I showed are metal ones from their Desert Sands set, but for the most part, you know, bones, because when you're talking about a large volume of minis, you know, cost starts to be a factor.
No, and Reaper they did nobody else who sold minis a favor, but they did all of us a huge favor by making miniatures accessible for pennies in the pounds.
Yeah, exactly. or less if you're getting bones, you know, in the Kickstarter.
Yeah, no, it's insane. I've done it 4 times, and I think I painted 12 of them.
Yeah. No, I've been doing a lot of painting
I've
recently
noticed.
for the game, and you get better fast when you're trying to do like a couple minis a day. So anyway, that's sort of where we stand. I did not take a picture of the layout to see how it's advancing. So the next little installment, I'll see where we've crept to. Part of the reason for that was the fact that I was working a little bit more on the cast of characters, the minis, and part of it was that I was just really pissed off about the printer breaking. So.
Well, of course. We got a couple messages here.
Okay. Oh, great. I'm glad you're looking at the chat because I haven't been monitoring
See,
that.
that's a first for me too. So look, Jim Havoc says you could dry brush the wolves into hellhounds, which is always true.
I could, and I was seriously thinking about that, and then I decided that I wanted to have just some wolves, and they're huge. They're huge figures. Hang on a second. Let me put it next to another figure. This is a regular sized person, and then one of the wolves. And so I think that they're going to be impressive enough to have two of those guys snarling. I mean, like maybe they're accompanying the Type 5 demon or something like that.
It's like the dog that you own. You have a giant dog too.
Yeah, except he can't look mean like that. They're terrifying, terrifying looking figures. I don't know what kind of resolution you're able to see on there, but these are some really, really nice figures also. And holding them up like that. And I really like these guys because they're incredibly easy to paint. I mean, if I was doing like reviews of Reaper minis, I don't know whether these are supposed to be dire wolves or whether they're listed as wolves or what they are, but these are two really good figures. I like this guy too. Is a really this guy's a really nice figure. The one that I did because he's got really nice relief on him, so you can paint. I dry brushed him. Got a quite a nice little dry brush on him. That's a nice figure. I like him. So
well, I have a question for you since we're
also you said there were a couple things on the chat. So
yeah, the next one was Josh Beckelheimer says, "Hey there," and so that's your greeting from him.
That's very Josh. Hey Josh.
And Jerry Baker said, "Hey, say greetings to Matt." So
hey Jerry.
One thing I'll say is since you're going to do a walkthrough video,
yeah.
Are you going to have like a background sound or like bizarre like marketplace sounds in the background? Or
no, I'm gonna do one that has the audio of me being Argyle talking to Podge, and then I'm gonna do one that has no audio for those who are annoyed by hearing a soundtrack on it. I'm also gonna give a copy of the thing to my friend Zach Glazer, because what works with this is that if you hand Zach something, he can't stop himself from tinkering with it. So if I'm like, gee, I bet this would be fun with a Moroccan music, open license soundtrack. I bet that would be really awesome.
I already have that actually.
And then
funny you should mention that. Yeah. Well, what do you know?
And then I'll just walk away and eventually
act like he didn't ask me to do it. That's the best part.
Right.
Even though it's all part of his plan. If he doesn't ask me to, then he doesn't have to count that against favors.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. That's, I did not ask you to help do any of the 3D printing and mail it to me though.
Nope. No, actually, and the way you asked for this whole project stuff was, hey, it was more of a, let's get excited about it. And that was easy because it's easy to get excited about this.
Yeah.
Miniatures, games, and D&D. I'm like, okay. Martin Nichols just came by and said, greetings from the UK right at midnight. Thanks, Martin.
Who was that?
Martin Nicol.
I don't know who Martin Nicol is.
Well, you do now.
I do now. I'm going to go over to the watch page, and that way I'm going to be able to see if anybody's putting stuff in the chat.
Well, I'm trying to read them to you, but I don't know, Matt. I might not be very good at this call screening.
Here we go. Move it over. We're probably not going to be here
much longer
for too terribly long, just because I don't have a whole lot of, once again, 3D printer broke. So, but I do have some cool ideas. I'm going to, one way to, since this is going to put me seriously behind in terms of what I wanted to do, I figured out one shortcut that I'm going to do for some buildings, which is I'm just going to print out, I went on Thingiverse and I looked up box with lid.
Make sure everybody who doesn't know what Thingiverse is, is like, if you picture in your mind, anything you ever wanted to see in 3 dimensions. Like, it'd be cool to have some tentacles today. And then there's 900 tentacles there. It's like it's the Napster of things.
Yeah, it's what it is it's 3D printing files.
Yeah.
Is the one detail Zach left out about it's the universe of all the things you might want. So it's so anyway, I went to Thingiverse, I looked up box with lid, and so I'm gonna be able to get a square box with a little lid on it. And then what you can do is you can scale these things on the 3D printer. So I can take a square and actually make it I can make it a rectangle, in any dimension that I want. I can change all the dimensions on the thing, and just use that box for a few of these buildings, and make a smaller box to put in the front of it to be a little front part. And there are some guys who have a campaign called the City of Blanos that's an Arabian campaign, and they've got a lot of stuff that's flat things like doors. In fact, one of the from their files, that's actually where the balcony and the door here come from. And the door is really, it's just a flat little piece of plastic, nothing particularly difficult, complicated about it. You just glue it to the outside. So that's what I'm going to do with some of my quick to print boxes, because they're really, really fast to print when there's no texture, because it's all a matter of surface area, how long it takes a 3D printer to do something. So I'll be able to bang some of those out, much more quickly than I could something that's got a lot of texture to it, and just paint the texture on.
And the difference between Matt and I in all this is that once I was on Thingiverse, I'd find 50 things that I thought would suddenly had to have. And my whole printing scheme would be all thrown off because it'd be so important to have a little tiny lamp that had just the right etchings on the side, because you can find those things. And it would be very hard for me to not want to use them all, because Thingiverse, thank God it's free, because it would be insanely expensive otherwise. All the little things you would need to print. Like, they have dragons you can hang from your monitor. They have special pencil holders that shape like Gollum. I mean, it's really like just the stuff that you never needed and don't need, but desperately need all of a sudden.
It's like a universe of kitsch that you can make for yourself.
Kitsch, all made by nerds. I mean, It's all very nerdy. There's a bunch of car guys who make parts for dashboard parts and dashboard covers that broke. But I don't know anything about those. They just show up accidentally every once in a while on my list, behind rings and dragons and tiles.
And eventually it starts sorting it by relevance, so you don't have to see the practical, useful applications.
I wish I had a filter for it. No, I pass. Yeah. Anyway, so.
And I've been caught by some of that. I mean, the little guy, there was a figure of a little 28 millimeter pair of feet with boots on them underneath a rock that had fallen. So I had to have that to put in my game. That was a
Martin Nichols said that small details to add 2 buildings are equal Grebles or Greebles, Greebles, and it's handy to know if you're looking for decoration stuff on Thingiverse.
Sweet.
That is the kind of thing. So that's why Matt and I do this show, to learn stuff like that.
Because knowing how to do searches on Thingiverse, that is an incredibly useful thing to know.
Martin, you win the
so much. Yeah, Martin, you do. You win the prize.
Our adoration. I just want to ask him a suggestion for a 3D printer. Matt just bought one because he used a suggestion of Tom Tullis, which is that's usually how I would go.
I've only had one, and I'm not a techie person, so I do not have any suggestions. I mean, the one that I got was a Maker 3 Plus, I think, and it did great up until the point that it died. And so I suspect that was an unusual occurrence with those, but I don't have the ability to fix it. So, and I will take it to a repair place if I can find one. So far, have not been able to find one, partly because just on the internet, the people who repair regular printers are so many of them that you can't find them.
One of the problems I think with 3D printers is they're really designed for prototyping. They're not made to be to mass create stuff. And I know Keith Hershey, when he was making the Rappahannock Mouth of Doom, I think he had 3 printers fail on him out of his 12 during the process, because they're moving and moving and moving. But I have a Robo R1 Plus. I really like it. It takes so much real estate on my desk, and it's just it's loud, and my wife can smell the plastic, so that makes it only can do the actual printing when she's gone, which is fairly frequently. But it's still it quells my my huge interest in 3D printing. I find it fascinating
because it's in the garage and you live in Arizona.
That's a big part of it. Yes, it is very hot in there.
Yeah.
But it's also lazy. It's like 20 feet away, man.
Yeah, you can't print effectively in a hot
I know.
environment like
And
that.
no, you cannot. And when it cools down, I might start printing out there
Mhm.
with a print to a little card. But right now, can't work. Doesn't work. So.
Yeah, I mean, I even realized because I was like going out and painting outside, because sometimes you spray paint and so there's the fumes and stuff, so it was quicker to go outside, and I realized it was that the heat was warping the plastic, and I'm not even in Arizona. I mean, that's just Houston, 95 degrees, stuff like
And it's
that.
hot here today. So Martin Nickel, I think you're going to be our new friend for knowing stuff because depending on budget and what you want to print, there are a host of things to choose from. I run 3 at the moment. 4 wants to go back next door and finish assembling the Ender 3 kit that arrived today.
Yeah,
See, Matt and I aren't
what
kit printer people.
well, the Ender 3, that's what I've ordered. So mine's
No.
going to be here tomorrow.
Is it a kit yours or you get it ordered put together?
Well, technically it's a kit. You do
Wow.
you have to assemble it, but it's pre-assembled components. I mean, it's mostly just screwing them together.
Mm-hmm.
So, at least from what I could tell, if it's more complicated than that, I will put the thing up on this desk and immediately call the internet for help.
Yeah, you can have a call-in show of help Matt help himself.
Yeah. I thought about doing one that was watch Matt try and fix his printer.
But that actually kind of funny, but I think that you actually might get someone to help you and you didn't want that.
Well, also, I think that most of the people who'd be able to help me would watch that thing in such pain about what I was trying to do that I thought I wouldn't inflict it on them.
That's why I never do Adobe stuff on streams because I find that people who actually really do it professionally would probably have a heart attack looking at my layer management, all the fancy things I do to make things look nice. A professional would see that and like vomit.
Yeah, probably.
I can make it look nice at the end, and that's what counts. So.
Well, that's why I'm a little hesitant to show any of those minis up there because there are not a lot of people who do super incredible terrain stuff. I mean, that's the people who make dioramas and things will put that kind of effort into it. But I can show my terrain, and pretty much anyone will be like, "Oh yeah, that's cool." But these minis, that there are the people out there who are just going to be like, "Oh my god," because
I posted on Facebook one time a mini I made, and that was the last time I'll ever do that. Painted. I got like 15 different pieces of advice all at once, and I hadn't even finished it yet. I'm like, I appreciate solid nerdery like everybody else, but that was a little too much nerd splaining. So anyway,
yeah, I mean, I've got the basics on printing miniatures, but there's there's the level of I can use washes and I can dry brush, and that's a level. It's almost like a discrete D&D level was where you do that stuff, and then you level up, and there's people who do things that I don't even know how to do. Like I do blending, I'm feathering, other techniques.
I've seen it on the screen go by. I'm like, yeah, okay, no, it's not because I don't want to. I'd love to paint minis. A decision in my life has somewhere I've got to focus my nerdery. So that just wasn't it.
And Bruce Lombardo says, "Hey, Frog God."
Yep.
We're only sort of Frog God, especially when we're doing the channel. We're not officially Frog God. We're not wearing our Frog God hats. We're wearing our other hats. Zach's not wearing a hat at all.
That's good hats. That's fine here.
You had to brush your hair before you got on, didn't you? Jenna made you brush your hair.
No, actually, I was still all cleaned up from yesterday.
Oh, you were just styling. Okay.
I was just styling. Hey, greetings from San Antonio. I bet it's hot in San Antonio today.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. It's not all that bad here. We've had some rain, but I'm in Houston, Bruce, so it
is hot here. Yeah. I'm in Arizona. If those who don't know, that's why I'm complaining so much. It is very hot.
Yeah, I think
that's what I paid for. So. All righty. I think we have anything else.
Not really. Let's wait and see if anybody got. Okay. So Bruce just got in. Tome of Horrors Complete, Razor Coast, and the Blight. Excellent. That is a weighty box.
Yeah, so that your postman must hate you.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a lot of book. If anybody's got any more questions about what we're doing here, I know that there wasn't a whole lot of nitty gritty in this one. I'm just showing sort of progress on the various fronts, and then I think by the next time, like I will have finished doing this, and I will have been able to do the varnishing on those other pieces and put all that stuff down with some of the street tiles, and I think we'll see it. It'll be sort of cool because it'll creep forward. So.
Oh, he just says he plans to convert the City of Brass to Pathfinder.
Hmm.
God help you. You know, it's a hard decision for us to go through and not decide to do it for Pathfinder, but biggest part of the problem isn't even the money, it's the production time. And so when you go and do it, I'm sure that if you have any questions for us, you can email me and I can try to get the answers from people if there's specific ones related to the story.
I'm going to have, guys. I just did an interview with Edwin Nagy, and it's not out.
Rat bastard.
Yeah, it's not out yet, because we were doing this one live, and so I'm going to, I just touched that one up with the editing and then put it out somewhere. We were talking about conversion, and it's going to be a really interesting video, but I can't link to it because it's not out yet. So
Edwin's a jack of all trades. He's an engineering professor in Maine, and he's the fastest 5e curve I've ever seen, and it's nuts.
And we've also got a question about where can I find people to play OSR LOTFP, and so that is
the best place to start.
Yeah, I would think so. And then the other person to ask, I don't know, would be on some. There's got to be a Facebook group for Lamentations of the Flame Princess where Jim Raggi, looks at it and can help people find players. It's not one that I play, so I'm not on their groups and things. But there's got to be a Facebook group, maybe a Discord out there where people can help point to that specific.
Got a lot of fans. That game has had a lot of legs.
Yeah,
I own it. I'm pleased. I've never played it, but I own it, and I think it's very well done.
Yeah, I agree. And and also they're all over the place on the Ennies. Zach Smith's Frostbitten and Mutilated is nominated in 5 different categories. I've never even seen that before.
That's the perfect game. Lamentations is the perfect game for Zach Smith.
It is.
And I say that as somebody who admires him. That is not in any way being an insult. It's admiration only. So.
Okay, so those we've covered the various questions in the chat, and we will give a little bit more of an update on the actual modeling when we come around in another few days, 3-4 days probably. I'll have to get a chance to get my printer up and running and print some more of the creative stuff so that we can show that to people. And we are getting closer to being able to make the video, but it takes time because 3D printing is not fast. So what else? Anything else, Zach? I guess we should say we are up to $46,000 on the
Kickstarter.
So we're into the stretch goal.
Yeah, we already passed one. We'll be passing another one at 50,000. Those are both stretch goals that everybody gets. Their content goals, but when you hit 60, you get the maps. Then we start unlocking the maps, handouts and such. And the maps are really beautiful. I'm into maps. So
yeah, Casey had actual physical printouts of some of the maps at North Texas RPG Con, and I was rooming with Casey.
No, I'm sorry.
At the con. No, he's a good roommate.
I know he is. I'm just kidding.
They're incredible. I mean, they're just utterly incredible when you actually see them on a great big piece of paper, professionally printed. And so yeah, that's going to be cool stuff when it comes out.
Yeah, we have really good cartographers working for us. That's everybody looks at art and they see art like fantastical pictures of monsters and everything else, but cartography really affects your game. It affects how well the game can be played, especially with digital tools. So I'm real pleased whenever I talk to both Alyssa and Robert. So
because it's the terrain equivalent for a virtual tabletop.
It is.
So I mean that's important. Excuse me. We did have a question about the campaign book for Lost Lands.
Matt's in charge. I just want to say that right now.
I am not, but I am writing part of it, and I'm actually turning in my section within the next 2 days to the project manager. That's actually one of the things.
That's not me. It's the project manager.
Right, and that's one of the things I've been working on, and could probably be doing right at the moment, but I am not. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, it's going in. It's a lot of the writing is probably done at this point, but what the big next step is going to be that Mark Greenberg, who is the project manager, is going to have to take these various pieces, and he's going to have to make sure that they're all sort of at the same bird's eye view level, so that you don't have one map that's like described, with 20 pages per city, and another one that's got, one paragraph per city or something like that. He's got to get all
City
of
of
that.
Brass. It's made of brass, and then move on. You're avoiding like real short phrases, but I can give a more specific answer because there was a email chain yesterday, and what they're doing now is they're actually asking for more words to be allowed for target goal to make sure they can cover some things, and that's almost all of them. And then they're also
Yeah, that's a bad idea, because that means that we're going to come out with a book this big and it's going to be super expensive.
look, Mark Greenberg's fault. I'm telling you, the best thing that ever happened to me was having that pass somewhere else. No, no. But the thing is that with the understanding that we're trying to get them all kind of even, a lot of the stuff hasn't ever been written before, so it deserves some, but not a lot. But we have a problem with currently. The reason I even talked to Mark was spelling. The spelling in between all the documents and the people who are writing and the people that are on the map, old modules, is interesting. And so we're going to have to spend a long time to make sure it matches the map and everything else, because we discovered
one thing that happened with the map is that Robert, who's our cartographer,
to read.
He rewrote a lot of the map notes instead of, when he made it into the great big map, I guess he had to retype in stuff. And so not every, he's got typos in the map.
Yeah, he speaks German. So, I mean, it's his native language is not Greg, so there's actually a lot of work involved, and we're going to fix it. The campaign set, we're hoping 2019, but it's work.
He's Austrian.
Sorry, speaks German. That's what I meant. Did you speak Austrian?
I just know he's from Austria.
Did you? Okay, with that note of insulting me, you about done?
I'm all done, except for, have you ever seen any of his tapestries where it's done like the Bahia tapestry with knights and stuff like that? Only he's put great old ones and elder things.
Well, I want one of those.
So they're awesome. I'll see if I can find one and send it to you. Or I don't know. If I find it, I'll put a link down at the bottom of the video too for people. It's awesome.
Awesome.
But we're way off. We're way off topic. We're
okay. People ask questions, but we're happy to be here for that. Thank you, everybody. And we'll be back doing this again. We'll give you an alert in the updates when we do this one again. Watch Matt all the time on YouTube, because he will try to avoid writing all the time, so he'll stay on as long as you like.
Yeah, so, absolutely. So,
all right, everybody.
Don't forget to do all of the things like subscribe to the channel and like the video and share it on Facebook and give money to the Patreon at
pledge to City of Brass.
Patreon.com /Uncle Matt. Pledge to City of Brass. So all of your responsibilities, that you already know about, do all of those, and whatever kind of Dungeons and Dragons it is that you play, imagine the hell out of it.